Welcome to the bold analysis. The President of Republic of Kenya dispatches Raila Odinga to South Sudan capital Juba on Friday morning after a military envoy linked to IGAD based in Juba warned Musalia Mudavadi of the same trip on Sunday night. So I am a bit curious on what's happening in South Sudan, and I will try to keep my eye close, open on this so that we really follow. But then, what exactly is our interest, and what is your move? What is your opinion on Raila Odinga being dispatched there? Tension between the two protagonists continues to boil as the town that is war-torn, as war-torn Sudan continues to seek peace that is not forthcoming. While we appreciate President Ruto's position as the East African chairperson, remember this position is normally rotational, so he's the chairperson now, it will be also critical to question deep interest in South Sudan because of the extraordinary efforts that we've put. And remember, this is not new. This is not the first time that we are seeing Kenya coming in front or taking a frontline position, especially when such conflicts emerge. I think Kenya, we normally don't keep quiet. We have a foreign policy of getting involved in anything and anywhere, anywhere. Remember, even as we talk, we have a problem with Kosovo. Nairobi diplomatic team acknowledged Kosovo as a country against some union statutory declarations, and Serbia is now sending some warning shots to Nairobi that we might have blundered, one blunder after the other. And so let's look at what's happening in Sudan and why Raila Odinga has been dispatched there urgently. Kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and like our videos. And thank you very much for supporting this channel. Remember, subscription is actually free. So when you subscribe, there is nothing going to be deducted from your account. The best you can do is to subscribe. So that is the best you can do for us. Now, President Salva Kiir and his vice Riek Machar are entangled in a bloody conflict as forces take on each and hostilities continue to boil. Yesterday, Salva Kiir was reported to have commissioned or rather sanctioned the arrest of the Vice President Machar. Now, according to Machar's Sudan People's Liberation Army in opposition party, a convoy consisting of 20 heavily armed vehicles reportedly stormed the residence of South Sudan's Vice President in Juba, where they disarmed his security personnel. This move has triggered, this move has triggered massive fights between the fighting camps in South Sudan. US had warned Salva Kiir against the move, calling him to release Machar. President Ruto called Museveni to earlier on Thursday. Museveni, Sameh Suluhu, and Ethiopian PM over the matter, and has also dispatched Raila Odinga as appointed and dispatched Raila Odinga to Juba on Friday morning as a special envoy to try to de-escalate the tensions and report to the East African presidents. As to whether this decision has been made by the consortium of East African presidents or William Ruto has just made a personal decision is something that we are yet to establish, because there was no summit of the East African community to pick Raila Odinga. Remember, even Uhuru Kenyatta and Obasanjo were also picked as peace mediators on the DRC and the M23-backed rebels, Rwanda-backed M23 rebels and DRC. But that was after SADC and East African Community Summit was convened. Now, this one, there was no summit that was convened, but President Ruto allegedly made calls directly. Ruto has also dispatched special officers to Juba, 4 special officers to Juba, to fly with Odinga in attempt to quell the tensions. Now, but I will want us to get to his Facebook page and look at the latest statement that he has made about this engagement. This is what he's saying. We are engaging leaders across the country to accelerate the implement. No, that is not what I wanted to read. I wanted to read a phone call. Yes, I had a telephone conversation with the United States Marco Rubio, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, on Tuesday evening, and then we discussed the need for U.S. government to support renewal of AGOA, African Growth and Opportunity Act, which is comprehensive framework between America and Africa. Then thanked President Trump for appointing Masad Bulos as special envoy for Great Lakes region, a move that signals commitment of Trump to Africa. Secretary Rubio and I discussed the situation in Haiti. He reaffirmed the strong U.S. support for Kenya-led effort to stabilize Haiti. In this regard, I welcome his support for the effort to secure sustainable UN support. On the peace and security situation in our region, Rubio thanked Kenya for leadership role it is playing in the search for peace and resolution. In this regard, I briefed him on the East African Community and SADC. Then in South Sudan, I updated the Secretary of State of current situation and blah, blah. Now, you can see the way the president has projected himself as the president, or rather as the prefect of the continent. And this is something that really some of us had been raising. Really, what is our real interest there? Now, I'm a bit curious of even on deploying police officers. I understand the NPS is saying that the 4 officers that are deployed will work under United Nations peacekeeping mission in South Sudan, that this mission has been in existence in South Sudan since 2011, so they can easily integrate. The curiosity is that Musalia Mudavadi was supposed to be in Juba by Monday with an IGAD delegation, but by the time he was planning to fly on Monday, IGAD Envoy based in Juba called Musalia and told Musalia about the hostility, and that is how Musalia returned his bags to the office, and that flight was cancelled. And I remember I analyzed that video here, and I did say that we didn't have a contingent of security in Juba, and it was not even advisable to send Musalia there. Did we have the intel about what was going on? Now, this peace mission also, Uhuru Kenyatta had appointed Kalonzo Musyoka, who was in charge of this. So probably Kalonzo has been dropped for Raila. Why Raila Odinga? I think these were part of the post-AUC plans. William Ruto will still want to keep Raila busy around here and there. And I also appreciate that Mgala Mwe Hakimpe, I think Raila has been in these peace negotiations for quite some time. The one in Ivory Coast. So in terms of competence and being able to negotiate this peace, he also stands a prime chance. Or rather, he also stands a good qualification to represent Kenya in this. Ruto is also grabbing headlines. You'd want such a headline. You know, Raila picked to Juba days after missing AUC, you know. Now, this is supposed to confirm to you that I meant to do something. I meant that Raila needed to go to AUC, and such episodes will continue to excite Raila mania and keep them within the broad-based administration. I can tell you that when you listen to the way Raila speaks, saying, I'm not a minister, I'm not in Ruto's government, anakuanga ameruka. So Ruto needs such episodes to make him relevant, ensure that yes, we are in broad-based, but I'm also trying something for Raila Odinga, forming the narrative of we are in government, you know. Raila kept on insisting they are not in government, but this is the kind of feeling that the president needs, that Raila is in government. Ruto could be having some commercial interest in Sudan, and that is why there is a bit of, is so much interested and is really pushing through on what's happening in South Sudan, and Kenya is acting as a regional peacemaker. Now, the irony of it is, in South Sudan, the president is fighting with his deputy. William Ruto is sending Raila Odinga to negotiate such, while back here in Kenya, himself, he's not had a very good relationship with his deputy. And there, president is fighting with his deputy. We are sending to negotiate, and we are acting as peace mediators. But locally in the country here, President Ruto could not mediate his way with his deputy and had to resort for a cowardly move called impeachment. Harvesting of South Sudan refugees. Oh, we are presenting ourselves as the good brothers for South Sudan, and probably will then open our arms for the refugees who will be given IDs and form part of the voting bloc. So, bit of it, we will follow what's happening in South Sudan. I believe not many analysts are following this, but because I had started it on Monday, expect more on what happens in South Sudan. Thank you. And it's interesting to find out whether Riek Machar and Salva Kiir will agree on Raila. The likelihood of Raila being rejected there is very high, because number one, Raila is pro-Machar, is pro-Salva Kiir, and Salva Kiir is a close friend to William Ruto, and William Ruto has sent a person. So Raila is most likely going to face rejection in South Sudan, just like what Ruto faced in DR Congo, when he wanted to mediate between Tshisekedi and Kagame, and Tshisekedi could not listen to that because he believed that William Ruto was actually a very close friend to Kagame. So on this one, will be interesting to see how Raila navigates. I'm going to pay close attention to that to see how he's going to navigate that space. Thank you.